Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Human Meme Podcast. I'm AI David Boles, and along with our cracking AI research staff, we're going to dig into the philosophy of prison structuralist Michel Foucault. Michel Foucault's conception of crime and punishment. Michel Foucault's influence on the discourse of crime and punishment is inextricable from his broader philosophical undertaking concerning power dynamics and the anatomy of institutions. His seminal work, Discipline and Punish, challenges conventional narratives around crime and punishment by interrogating how these phenomena function within a specific nexus of power relations. Foucault traces the genealogy of punishment from its corporeal manifestations, such as public executions, into more sublimated forms like imprisonment and surveillance. He uses the concept of the panopticon, borrowed from Jeremy Bentham, to elucidate how modern punishment mechanisms operate not just to discipline the body, but to regulate the soul. Foucault's theories had a palpable impact on the discourse surrounding prison reform. His notion of the carceral archipelago, which describes the dispersed yet interconnected network of penal institutions, has been instrumental in revealing how the prison system functions less as a corrective mechanism and more as a tool for societal control. This perspective led to a scrutinization of the efficacy and moral basis of incarceration as a form of punishment, galvanizing reformist initiatives. Although it may be difficult to trace a direct line from Foucault's writings to concrete policy changes, his ideas indubitably served as an intellectual underpinning for a generation of reformers and scholars advocating for a more humane and nuanced approach to imprisonment. The contemporary discourse on Foucault's theories demonstrates their enduring relevance, while also raising questions about the philosopher himself. Foucault's work continues to serve as an intellectual touchstone for critical analysis of carceral systems. However, current critics argue that Foucault's theories are at times removed from the material conditions and struggles of marginalized communities, thereby running the risk of perpetuating the structures of power and exclusion that he sought to critique. This paradox illuminates something about Foucault's own intellectual positioning. The man who dissected power relations with surgical precision was himself subject to the limitations and blind spots of his cultural and historical context. As much as he envisioned a form of power that was omnipresent and pervasive, his own intellectual endeavors were shaped by specific societal norms and academic traditions, revealing an individual ensconced in the complex interplay of ideology and critique. From an ethical standpoint, Foucault's contributions to the discourse on crime and punishment represent a moral challenge. They demand that society reevaluate the normative frameworks justifying punishment, particularly imprisonment, as a legitimate response to crime. In forcing us to confront the ethical underpinnings of societal structures, Foucault underscores the imperative for justice systems to be rooted in principles that extend beyond retribution or deterrence. His work serves as a clarion call for the critical reassessment of justice as a societal institution, and urges an unwavering moral scrutiny of the mechanisms of power that regulate human conduct. One of Foucault's most powerful insights extends into the realm of surveillance as a form of control that transcends the physical boundaries of prisons. This is most vividly illustrated in his concept of the panopticon, a term that has found traction not only in penology but also in discussions of technology, social media, and data privacy. Foucault's contention that the prison system is a microcosm of broader societal control mechanisms reveals the intricate web of surveillance that characterizes modern life. His critique forces us to interrogate the nature of freedom within an extensively surveilled society, thereby amplifying the moral imperatives underlying our collective conversations on privacy and individual autonomy. As we grapple with the ever-changing dynamics of justice and punishment, it's worth noting how Foucault's ideas have been absorbed, critiqued, or even supplanted by subsequent epistemic shifts. Post-colonial theorists and intersectional feminists, for example, have taken Foucault to task for his often Eurocentric focus, and have built upon his framework to explore how racial and gendered power dynamics intersect with issues of crime and punishment. The evolving critical response to Foucault's work serves as a mirror reflecting the complexities of the man himself. Foucault was a provocateur who, in unmasking systemic mechanisms of power and control, also revealed his own intellectual boundaries. In examining the very apparatus of power, he simultaneously occupied a space within that apparatus, a form of intellectual privilege that could neither be fully transcended nor ignored. Thus, Foucault as a person becomes an embodiment of the tensions he explored, an intellectual insurgent, yet a product of his own delineated domain of thought. From a pragmatic standpoint, Foucault's theories have been instrumental in fostering a more complex understanding of crime and punishment, one that questions the ethical ramifications of retributive justice and considers alternative frameworks such as restorative justice. His work posits an urgent moral question. Can a system of punishment be built that honors the dignity of the individual while still serving the collective need for societal order? It is instructive to view Foucault's critique of crime and punishment as an ethos of dissent, a systematic effort to destabilize dominant paradigms that often go unquestioned. Foucault's unyielding probe into the mechanics of punishment constitutes a form of intellectual resistance, challenging not only established theories but also the operational norms of justice systems. This ethos is reflective of a broader societal struggle for legitimacy, where governance mechanisms must constantly justify their moral and philosophical underpinnings in the face of scrutiny. Foucault's theories, while illuminating the omnipresence of power, also point to its inherent instability and the potential for resistance. This dialectical tension between power and resistance becomes especially pertinent in the realm of crime and punishment. While his work identifies how power solidifies within the prison-industrial complex, it also suggests the latent potential for subversion and transformation. The institution, while an expression of power, is not monolithic. It is subject to influences and changes that come from within and outside its boundaries. Foucault's work does not exist in intellectual isolation. Its reception and impact are also mediated by dialogues with other critical theories, such as feminist critiques, post-structuralist thought, and post-colonial analyses. These intertextual dialogues enrich the dimensions of Foucault's work, but also highlight its limitations, especially when it comes to incorporating gendered or racialized forms of oppression within his analysis of power structures. The evolving conversation about Foucault's theories also offers an intimate glimpse into the intellectual milieu in which he operated. The man often seen through the lens of his groundbreaking theories was also a subject to the very power dynamics he analyzed. This human element adds a layer of complexity when examining Foucault's influence. His own struggles with public perception, sexuality, and societal norms bring a biographical depth that enriches our understanding of his theoretical constructs. From a moral standpoint, Foucault's work represents an unfinished project that stretches beyond his lifetime. His questions around crime and punishment invite us to continue the task of interrogation and critique. They offer a philosophical basis for contemplating alternative paradigms of justice that are more aligned with ethical principles, such as restorative justice and transformative justice. The moral imperative for change is perhaps the most enduring legacy of Foucault's work, serving as a guiding principle for successive generations of scholars, activists, and policymakers committed to redefining the contours of justice. And so, my human meme friend, Michel Foucault's theorization of crime and punishment remains a polyphonic site of intellectual and ethical inquiry, inviting continuous engagement and dissent. His work does more than dissect the structural dimensions of justice systems. It also summons us to a moral vigilance, demanding that we scrutinize, reassess, and where necessary, transform the frameworks of power that govern us. His contributions therefore become a living dialectic, an ever-renewing conversation that invites not only academic rigor, but also moral courage and imagination. The multidimensionality of his theories serves as a complex tapestry through which we can engage with enduring questions about the nature of power, justice, and human dignity. Thank you for joining us. For the Human Meme Podcast AI Research Team, I am AI David Boles. Have a lovely day and an even brighter tomorrow. Be a human meme.